They were gonna create another rogue as we're heading towards the Bladedancer mastery. We already know that the skills that the rogue has are very versatile, can be used in many situations, and the Bladedancer seems to be a bit more straightforward with the power scaling tags being physical, melee, and area. I'm really curious to see it in game, so let's get to it. So here we are within the game, and I felt like the perfect moment to start this episode at would be at the point where we can pick up Twin Blade, which will allow us to dual wield melee weapons by equipping a sword or a dagger in our offhand. This extra damage feels very important to me for a melee rogue. The only idea that I can still find some value in would be to go for a two-handed weapon, but I don't really remember if rogues can equip two-handed weapons, maybe a spear, something like that. Either way, maybe that's a way in which you could do enough damage that would justify not picking this straight up. I don't see any value in going for a one-handed weapon, but maybe we find an idea in the future which actually would have some value. The downside of dual wielding, of course, is that we will take 9% more damage, which is really bad for a class which is already quite squishy. We've seen yesterday by going for the rogue towards the marksman how easy it is to die. And at least by using a bow, we could run away from the enemy and kill them by the time they would reach us, or we could avoid a lot of the incoming damage and death while still killing the enemies in the process, right? Shooting at them from a distance. We don't have that luxury today while playing the Bladedancer. So I am thinking at this moment that we need to heavily invest in dodge rating. We need to get the blind debuff on enemies, right? They'll find a way to blind enemies, which will increase our chances of survivability, basically making them miss us more. And I'm thinking also some stun chance. Now, we don't need to have long stuns. That's not something that we need to invest in. However, getting a little stun here and there is enough to disrupt the enemy's attacks, allowing us to get another attack or two before having to run away. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment, and thus I will maximize, first of all, I'll invest 5 points here, right? I'll maximize the Guile to get that base dodge rating and get a bit of poison resistance, which is not bad. We've unlocked Smoke Bomb, which will blind enemies inside the smoke, and thus it's going to help us with survivability. And as I said, we're gonna pick up Twin Blade at the moment. Let's quickly go over gear. I tried to find the best gear in the store that I could find, and I had a few drops here and there that offered us at least some extra armor to push us in the early game. I also had this unique one-handed sword in the stash. I kept it for such an occasion. This sword has only 10 damage, so it's good only for the early game, but we're getting 21% increased melee attack speed, 5% increased movement speed, 5 ward gain on melee hit, which is like extra health, 1% chance per ward to gain haste for 2 seconds when you directly use a melee attack, and elemental attacks deal 1% increased damage per 200 ward. Now, I've looked through the tree. We don't really have a way in which we could increase ward or gain ward using the Bladedancer or the Rogue itself. I mean, there's nothing really good. So this is not going to be the perfect way to invest in. We're not going to invest in ward that much. It's going to be helpful for early game. And as luck would have it, I found this knife here, this dagger, which is going to give us a bit more critical strike chance, some fire damage, and 49% increased stun chance with melee attacks. And that sounds pretty good to me. On the other side, we are going to go here with Flurry, first of all. And I was wondering whether I should just go into elemental damage. Now, if I go with elemental damage, that would mean that we are going to do straight up damage, killing the enemies in the process, hopefully survive for long enough, and then just move forward. But what I am thinking right now is sort of a hit and run technique. Basically, yesterday I wasn't too successful by going with damage over time. But what if today I am focused on one of them, on either poison chance or bleed chance, try to maximize that, get in, do 3, 4, maybe 2 free 30 attacks, which are 3 rapid strikes in a row, and thus apply that damage over time, and then move away from the enemy or move forward through the enemies towards the next pack, and hopefully the ones behind me will die. That's what I'm thinking. That's what we're going to try. How successful will be, it's something that we're gonna have to see. But for the moment, let's see, is there anything here that we care for? Getting some leech, getting some health would be interesting. Enemies killed by Flurry have a chance to release a kinetic burst around the target, dealing physical damage. So this is an explosion, and that sounds pretty good as well. Well, for the moment, let's go here. With Deep Strike, Flurry deals more damage, 8% per point. We need both of these, or I feel like I want both of these, so we're gonna try with that. Oh, were there more points? Because I don't really remember. Oh, yes, I had a few more points. So, do I have damage over time? I think I have some bleeding. I have some poison as well, so we can go with a point here. And I'm going to invest another one in this area so that we can take the kinetic blast. We might want to respec out of that in the future, but for the moment, as you can see, this can be pretty efficient for us. I'm also going to throw this smoke bomb over here. I don't plan to use puncture at this moment. I will use acid flask every once in a while, just when I need to stay at a distance, you know, from enemies like this one, which will do that spinny attack. I don't want to get up close and personal to it with our melees here. So I threw down the smoke bomb, and you can see that I'm dodging more attacks. This can be very efficient. And this is mostly because it applies blind, so that's what we're really looking for here. An ability to apply blind. And that should be about it.
You're here to help protect the drink. Tread carefully.
So far, I have to say that I like the melee rogue. I like the flurry ability, because it has this kind of wide arc. It feels useful in many situations, especially when you're trying to clear mobs like these groups. Does it have area? It does have area, so maybe we can even increase the area of effect for this one. What are the chances that Flurry has a way in which you could do an area of effect in a 360 arc? Like basically just do damage all around you. We're gonna check that out as soon as we're getting another level out here, or as soon as we're done with this battle. Okay, put down, run away from that circle. As you can see, we're really melting these enemies early on, but we're all good. Rogue is a good class either way at damage dealing. We've seen it with the bow as well. As long as we invest points and gear into it, it's really not a problem to run with it. Okay, so there is two-handed swords, two-handed spears. We can equip it with the rogue, so that is totally fine. I guess that is the alternative to this. Get a bit more movement speed, health regeneration, and dodge rating. Yes, I will take that over armor. There we go. At this moment, what's our defense like? 70% chance to dodge, not the best in the world.
These beastalks are hardly worth it if you don't know why Orion is after us.
Stun chance, we have this shrine, and you'll see now why stun might be important. I mean, do I have to prove why stun is important? If I think about it, that sounds really stupid. Everybody knows why stun is important. I like that fire attack, the Cinder Strikes. Might be useful every once in a while to throw one of these big attacks with elemental damage, but we shall see. If you don't know what we're doing through this series, maybe this is your first experience with the Two-Headed Wolf gaming channel and what I'm doing with Last Epoch, is that I am going to be running and making a plan for the next, well, what, 24 minutes. And then I'm going to farm off-screen, getting a bunch of levels, but I will not spend any of the passive skill points or active skill points or even throw in better gear, so that we can return in the next episode, spend everything, have fun like that, making a plan and justifying exactly what choices I'm making. And we will compare the new power level to the old power level, right? In between episodes, we will see this huge shift in damage and strength, and hopefully survivability as well. And we can make another plan for the future in that half hour, and then once again I'll be farming till around level 35, at which point we'll draw some conclusions. The idea for this series is that we will go through all of these classes just to get an idea for what they have to offer. I'm not gonna spoil too much of the endgame for you. You will still have plenty to discover and enjoy. And after these are done, I'm really looking forward to getting back into one of these classes, push it to the end game, make some build ideas. I already have a few in mind. I mean, I really want to create a rogue at this point, go for marksman, and try to play it in melee. When I looked at some of the marksman skills, sure, some require build, but not all of them. And I am really wondering whether you could build a melee marksman. Is it going to be the best thing in the world? Well, probably not, but who knows? Maybe something cool will come out of it. At the end of the day, we're here to try out ideas, right? Just a little more and we get another level up, or we can spend a few more points.
Easy. Too easy.
I'm really not sure what to do for the next specialization slot, which is going to be here at level 8. I am thinking that maybe I should go with Smoke Bomb. I could increase the area of effect for Smoke Bomb, maybe even apply some extra debuffs or get some extra damage while within the Smoke Bomb range or things like that.
But let me first check and make
It
sure
really
everything's
feels
safe.
like that might be the best choice.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to talk here. She's gonna get captured. There is a chest over here which I would like. This is called efficient play, right? For speed runs. Do you even go for the chest? Okay, there we go. And yeah, I'm going back to camp. I'll see you when I get out of the village. The village trip is done. I've just brought this amulet which increases our melee attack speed. And I felt like that was pretty good, so I just picked it up. Over here we have free and spend points. Our base dodge at this moment is 113. I don't feel like it's really good to go for increased dodge rating at this point by percentage. So I am guessing that going for Guile, like keep investing points into here to maximize it, is probably a better choice for right now. We might remove some points here and there in the future in order to invest into percentages as we're going later on in the game, but for early game I feel like the flat bonus is better. Let's figure out what we specialize in though. And I'm thinking Smoke Bomb on one side. We could go here with Shrouded in Darkness, where we are granted a stack of Dusk Shroud each second for 2 seconds while we are in the Smoke Cloud, granting us Glancing Blow chance and Dodge rating, and this effect can stack. So we're getting 50 dodge rating and a 5% chance for Glancing Blow chance to happen, which is reducing the damage that we have received for 2 seconds. And this can stack, so we can get multiple of these, thus making us really hard to hit while in the Smoke Cloud, which could be very important for our survival. And I'm guessing we can increase our area of effect. Yeah, we have an effect here which would increase both the growth speed, basically how quickly it spreads out, the smoke, and we could get increased area of effect by 10% per point. This would add up to a 40% in the end. Or we could go with Generosity, which would increase our area of effect by 20% per point invested. If we fully invest, that would be 100%. This could pretty much cover a good portion of the screen and thus make us good at getting into combat, throw that smoke screen down, kill all the enemies while being really hard to hit, and get out, move forward, and so on and so forth. This could be very useful. I'm also thinking of fully committing to poison at this point. Rather than bleeding, we're gonna go full poison on this run. And slow is not important to be honest, but I guess you could say that we are poisoning enemies and running away from them to the next combat, and thus the slow Applies to the enemy which is poisoned and thus takes more damage. By the time they reach us, they are dead. That's the theory. Armor Shred could be very important for melee combat. Turning Armor Shred into Poison Resistant Shred, I feel like it's even more important. And since we are doing Flurry, we're doing these free rapid strikes. Getting this means that there is a chance we're gonna apply 3 stacks at the end of one attack. Venom Infusion would increase our chance to poison, and I feel like committing to this is also really good. On the other side, I am thinking that for early game, maybe going for Shift is good. Of course, very important for survivability would be to get this, cleanses ailments, right? Using Shift removes poisons, bleeds, anything like that. Very important, I would say. On the other side, we could go down here, making us invulnerable to shifting, and I think what I really want here is this. Parting Gift, which will throw an acid flask on departure, and Arrival Gift, which would also throw an acid flask on arrival. So jumping into combat and leaving combat would poison the enemies even further, and I do like that idea. We're gonna go on this path first, so we're gonna throw in Shift here, and we're gonna get the healing amount to begin with. We're gonna go towards this area. I want to throw that acid flask. I'm not really using passively that often, and maybe, just maybe, we will specialize in Shift, we will specialize in Flurry, we will specialize in Smoke Bomb, right? We're throwing it like this, and that will make us harder to hit. And I'm guessing maybe we might also specialize in the Flask just to increase that damage. But who knows? That is something to be considered in the future. Over here we found a relic which increases our chance to poison on hit, increases physical damage by 20%, gives us a few resistances, it removes our critical strike chance, but at the end of the day, 16% chance to poison, it's a good start. Overall, I'm really excited to play this class. Really like how it feels so far to play with a melee. I guess in a sense I liked playing yesterday as a bowman as well. However, I don't feel super happy with how that marksman turned out. It was good, but it was nothing special. I really felt at the end of it that I could do much more with it. But I guess that's the point. I mean, it's still early in the game. I'm trying out all of the classes. I'm not really fully committed to get to the end game. And thus I am feeling a lot eager to make mistakes or try out some ideas that might seem at first boring. Because I really feel like I've learned a lot, and at least I've gained a few other ideas of what I could do going forward. Now let me throw a smoke cloud here. Now I'm gonna throw this poison concoctions. I feel like we might want to keep that in our arsenal. Definitely need some sort of way to attack from a distance, at least every once in a while. Whether we go with the acid flask or maybe we will go with hurricanes. Maybe that is going to be the idea for the future. Who knows? Okay, let's go even further here. First strike poison chance increased by 20%. We want that. I guess that first strike chance to poison and bleed is actually limiting us from applying 3 stacks in one hit. But Flurry is still such a rapid attack that I don't think it matters. Plus, it says that it increases the chance to apply on the first hit. But that doesn't mean that if you have multiple modifiers, like if you have through another skill, through a passive skill, the ability to apply poisons on hit, that it doesn't apply on all 3 hits, right? So even though the skill is trying not to be too overpowered to begin with, which would make Flurry absolutely the best choice here in this situation. it's not really that overpowered. I feel like it's a good balance for what you might want to have early on in the game. Last one to flurry, some dodge chance. I think I prefer the poison, even though that extra skill point might be useful. I will stay with what I have right now. It has level up again, so we can push this even further. Using mana for anything. I guess the concoction is... Oh, and she also uses mana. Okay, so the mana regeneration that we're gonna get is not gonna be bad. Yeah, we're getting 30 health here, then we're gonna go for mana regeneration. We're actually going to use 3 points. Is there anything which would increase our mana cost here? Yes. Flurry is now a channeled ability that costs 5 mana per second to maintain. You do not regenerate mana while channeling. Then that's something that we might want to invest in. If we're gonna get a lot of mana regeneration over here, then I'm thinking jump into combat, channel as many attacks as you need, then move out. And keep going like that, right? And we're getting enough mana regeneration in between. We might even want to get some mana regeneration from Flurry. We've seen that skill up at the top right, where we would get 1 mana per hit, which is not perfect, but let's say that from 3 it cost us 5 mana for 1 attack, and we are going to get back, I think, at 3 points. Was it 3 that we could invest? No, 2 points. We would get 2 mana back out of 5. It's still pretty good to maintain. For passive skill points, we've maximized what we wanted. At this point, we're gonna go with increased dodge rating and damage taken while moving. Decoy, we might use it to escape certain situations. I don't have a better idea at the moment. So we're gonna replace this here so that we can throw down the decoy, attract attention, and get out of trouble at times. Yeah, it also taunts enemies, so that allows us to do quite a bit, and also explodes at the end of its effects, so it's not that bad. It has a long cooldown, not something that we want to use all the time. Might be something that we want to use when we're fighting a boss. And here is our first chance to actually try that decoy and see how well it works.
Epoch. Reaching me was impressive, but it's mine.
Yes, yes, yes. Bring your bird here. Let's fight. That decoy uses a lot of mana. Might not even need. I'm looking at this. Getting that armor shred on him, and we're giving him a bit of poison as well. Let's use this smoke bomb. Throw another decoy there. The enemy is attracted to it. It quickly explodes, so he doesn't have a whole lot of health. As you can see, the ward keeps building up here at the bottom. Pretty useful on quick attacks. It's actually strong. I'm gonna throw some of these potions. Once again, I want to reduce some of that armor and apply some poison. It almost feels a shame to invest in, go for a Bladedancer and replace some of these skills. I really feel like I could make a build here with Flurry, using Flurry, Shift, Smoke Bomb, and probably Acid Flask. I feel like I could do that. How far it could push, I have no idea, but it really feels like it could be. It's one of those things where I am thinking I am going to quickly jump into combat. I am throwing the acid flask and throwing down the smoke bomb. That makes me hard to hit. We're using flurries to apply debuffs to them, and the stronger we make this acid flask, the stronger the damage will be once we use the shift key, right, and dropping acid flask, and have like this secondary ability where if the enemy is at a distance and he's doing like an AoE around him and we need to stay away, it's still going to offer us an opportunity to do enough damage to them.
With the Epoch's power,
Yes, yes.
I'll finally
Throw us back in time.
What is this place? I don't seem to have gone far, but everything looks so different. Is there anyone here?
I was very interested to see how much damage we are doing to the enemies in this area. It seems like we're doing quite well. We are dual wielding and we have these really quick attacks. It's a huge difference when you're comparing this to the Sentinel with the slow attacks. You can see, you might be squishy, but at least you see the amount of damage that you are doing. And that extra health with the ward down at the bottom is going up so fast. Let's see. Chance to chill on hit, cold damage, melee cold damage. This could add up a lot of extra damage. It doesn't really calculate it. Let's try it out. Sure. Let's see if chill works well for us, if we have a good chance to freeze the enemies. Doesn't seem like that is the case there. But I'm not sure I really like that knife. I think I prefer the other one. Well, let's fight a bit more and then we'll decide. Yeah, I don't see too much value in it. Let's put this back. We might even craft it. Do some of the bonuses it has. But I feel like even that small little stun effect there is actually a bit better than the fact that we are not killing the enemies properly. Another level up on hand. What are we going to invest in at this moment? We could go with more rating, dodge rating, haste on hit. You have a chance to gain haste for 1 second on hit and deal increased damage based on your increased movement speed. Okay. You have additional dodge rating and a chance to receive a glancing blow and hit. Once again, we're getting some flat dodge rating and we're getting a chance to do glancing blow. Every third melee, throwing, or bow attack gets 20% increased damage. I can take the extra damage. Oh, I cannot unless I invest a point here. And I will take the 3% glancing blow chance. It's not gonna happen often, but when it's going to trigger, it's going to be useful, I feel. I got some mana regeneration, and I feel like that's pretty much all that is important to show for early on. I don't really see anything that would add to it. I'm going to start farming now. I'm going to get some extra levels, go through these early quests, gather enough so we can spend. As per usual, probably in this, as per usual, without the probably, I guess, at this point. We're gonna start the next episode when we're picking up the mastery class. And at that point, maybe I'll farm a bit longer just to have enough points to go crazy. With this in mind, hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next one.